the bright future, and by mid-2015, it was agreed another round of counseling needed to resolve the trustee issues. In this regard, a team of independent consultants under Mr. Ronald Kaberuka was commissioned to advise the government and development partners concerning future development cooperation. Following the Kaberuka report and the 2012 Bassan outcomes, the development cooperation framework was prepared and endorsed in 2017. Your Excellencies, the DCIF reaffirms the government's commitment to ownership and providing leadership to the development process, including the related cooperation with all development stakeholders. As you may recall, the primary objective of the development cooperation framework, among other things, was to ensure there is a coordination among stakeholders with the ultimate goal of attaining the Tanzanian Development Vision 2025, as well as the Zanzibar Development Vision 2020 and 2050. To that effect, the development cooperation framework has contributed to the transition from the low-income to low-middle-income status according to the World Bank classification of July 2020 as per the gross national income, GNI, and the GNI per capita. Moreover, during the period under review, that is 2017-2021, we have been able to sustain a single digit between 3 to 5%, which is in line with the EAC and SADC convergence criteria of not more than 8% of the inflation, and a fairly stable exchange rate, adequate foreign reserves, which is within the EAC and SADC criteria, covering at least 4 months of import of goods and services, as well as sustained peace, harmony, and political stability. Your Excellencies, the achievement have been possible through adherence to the objectives that focused on ensuring there is a national ownership of the development process and effective management of resources. The government has since then ensured robust public financial management systems and continue to implement the reforms through the 6th phase of the Public Financial Management Reform Program launched in November 2022. Furthermore, the resources can be accounted for and harmonized effectively. These systems include Government Electronic Payment Gateway, the Government Accounting System, the Direct-to-Project Fund Management Information System, and the Debt Recording and Management System. Other achievements include increased domestic resource mobilization from 17,944.9 billion shillings in 2017-2018 to 24,395.7 billion shillings in 2021-2022. Increased recognition, cooperation, and participation of civil society organizations and private sector in development process, as evidenced by establishment of the different policies, including the public-private partnership policy, as well as establishment of designed PPP unit, which develop robust policies and the regulatory framework to facilitate the PPP projects. Subsequently, the government cooperation and coordination with NGOs over the years has improved through the establishment of National Council of NGOs, preparation of publication of citizen budget, and conducting regular dialogue and a follow-up of the development projects. Your Excellencies, despite the achievement attained during the period under review, there are challenges of which, among others, is lack of transparency on some development assistance channeled through NGOs, which mainly undermine the mutual and domestic accountability. I wish to use this platform to call upon development partners to provide development assistance to NGOs that are in line with the national policies and strategies and ensure full transparency of order information so as to avoid duplication of efforts and strengthen domestic mutual accountability. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I would like to inform that development cooperation framework remains an important feature of Tanzania's development strategies, helping in mobilizing external resources from development partners. It is also aims to strengthen the relationship of the government of the United Republic of Tanzania and the Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar with their development partners towards attaining the development vision and the sustainable development goals, in particular the SDG 17, strengthening means of implementation, and specifically by strengthening domestic resource collection. The government welcomes DP's support in continuing to strengthen capacity of domestic revenue collection, and secondly, continuing to recognize CSOs and private sector contribution in the implementation of our development plans, strengthening public-private partnership, and improving the business environment. The third one is requesting DPs to meet the ODA target and the ODA provided to be aligned to Tanzania's development plans and emphasize the use of country system. The fourth one is the knowledge sharing on cooperation for access and capacity building for the science, technology, and innovation for the purpose of attaining of the national development goals and building resilience. And the last one, strengthening dialogue at all levels, including sector, strategic, and high level, to monitor progress and ensure mutual accountability. As I conclude, I wish to highlight the importance of monitoring, the importance of nurturing our development cooperation, in particular during these times of uncertainties, to jointly address the development challenges, including climatic change, business environment, energy, food security, blue economy, and infrastructure development. In this regard, I would like to reiterate the government of the United Republic of Tanzania commitment to our development cooperation as we continue to strive to attain goals set in our development visions. In closing, I wish to recognize and appreciate the dedication and effort of the Secretariat from the government and development partners side for their tireless efforts to prepare this event. You are all most welcome. Asanteni sana and karibuni sana. Asanteni sana.
I thank you, Honorable Minister, the chair of this event. I now invite the High Commissioner, Your Excellency David William, for your opening remarks. Karibu sana.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Fedha na Mipango, mawaziri wengine wote na viongozi wakuu, waheshimiwa mabalozi, waheshimiwa wakilishi wa sekta binafsi na serikali ya Tanzania, waheshimiwa wataalam wa maendeleo, mabibi na mabwana, habari za asubuhi. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity. On behalf of the Development Partners Group, I would like to say that as Tanzania sets its sights on the future through the drafting of Vision 2050, the year ahead is a great opportunity to set the right course and make decisions that build on recent progress. Tanzania's economy is recovering well from COVID-19, and 2 years into the presidency of Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu Hassan, it is clear that Tanzania has succeeded in renewing international and regional relationships, while also making progress domestically on political reconciliation and reaffirming Tanzania's reputation for economic and social stability. Mr. Chairman, as development partners, we're here today to listen and to learn. We feel there's much to be positive about and much to discuss with you and your government at this juncture, and we welcome in particular the inclusion in today's discussion of representatives from the not-for-profit and private sectors. Mr. Chair, we are buoyed by the President's visibility internationally on issues such as climate change and food security, and by her personal efforts to promote inward investment, champion gender equality, and encourage awareness of the implications of population growth. Mr. Chairman, we recognise the efforts being made by Tanzania to complete major infrastructure projects and bring new personnel and ideas to the running of certain state institutions while commissioning reviews of underperforming systems. We welcome Tanzania's hosting in September this year of the Generation Equality Forum and the Africa Food Systems Forum. Both events will be opportunities to highlight the importance of achieving inclusive growth for future generations. Mr. Chairman, as development partners, we welcome Tanzania's renewed embrace of multilateralism, Tanzania's ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, its participation in international fora, including the last two climate COPs, and the country's renewed focus on meeting international health regulation commitments. Mr. Chairman, we also value the country's continuing partnership with a very wide range of UN agencies. We applaud the openness Tanzania has shown to harnessing more fully its partnership with IFIs such as the World Bank and the IMF. This is exemplified by the IMF's approval last year of a substantial $1 billion plus extended credit facility to assist Tanzania's economic recovery and reform agenda, and more recently by the World Bank's approval of a $500 million IDA credit to support policy reforms and $275 million in both credit and grant funding for maternal and child health investment. Mr. Chairman, as shareholders in and funders of these institutions, we're heartened to see these programs being launched. They add to existing flows of donor nation aid being dispersed both multilaterally in Tanzania and bilaterally. In 2020, the year for which we have the latest full figures, Tanzania received around $2.5 billion of ODA in total, 53% of which was bilateral. And the top three recipient sectors of that bilateral aid were health and population, social infrastructure and services, and economic infrastructure and services. Mr. Chairman, all of this aid is rightly provided to support Tanzania to meet its national development goals as set out in the country's third five-year development plan and Vision 2025, and in the context of Tanzania's development cooperation framework. Mr. Chairman, let me commend your government for its prudent macroeconomic management. In addition to managing internal factors, you have needed, as have other nations in the past 12 months, to take additional measures to protect your economy from the cost of living fallout of Russia's war in Ukraine. That this has been necessary illustrates how this war is a source of turbulence and danger, not just for Europe, but for the world. So as we approach the somber milestone of the first anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it is necessary to point out that all the development partners represented here today remain united in their resolve to see this war ended in the only way it can be ended, by Russia ceasing all military operations and attacks on Ukrainian civilians and withdrawing from Ukrainian sovereign territory. Mr. Chairman, Beyond aid, the countries represented here today collectively provide, through their businesses and private sectors, the majority of the capital which has flowed to Tanzania as foreign direct investment. The choices these private sector actors make over the next few years about where in East Africa they should invest or expand investments will be critical to the country's development. Mr. Chairman, as development partners, we want to see Tanzania succeed to the full in that competition for capital. It's integral to the success of the development partnership we have with you. Mr. Chairman, I observe that today is Valentine's Day. However, we are not gathering here like new dates, nervously introducing each other across a candlelit table. Rather, we meet as long-standing friends and partners, very familiar with what we have brought to the relationship over many, many years, and comfortable talking candidly about where and how we think the relationship could be delivering more. To that end, the agenda we have agreed is rightly ambitious in scope. It focuses on areas and objectives that are priorities for your government: economic empowerment of women, transforming the rural economy through climate-resilient agriculture, energy access, investing in the health and education of this predominantly young population, and critical to achieving all of those, the goal of turning the country's business environment and private sector into an engine of growth and job creation. Mr. Chairman, in all of these areas, we observe that your government is already introducing reforms and already looking to do things differently, recognising, no doubt, that business-as-usual approaches will not be enough to meet the needs of a booming population and the growing pressures of climate change. Mr. Chairman, your own experts are better placed than any of us to diagnose the challenges and prescribe the remedies. But as development partners, we share the assessment that the models for economic growth which served Tanzania well in reaching low and middle income status are unlikely to be sufficient for the next phase of the country's development. And Mr. Chairman, we want to support you on that next phase, recognising, as do your own experts, that the headline GDP growth Tanzania has achieved over the past 2 decades has been genuinely impressive, and yet at the same time insufficiently inclusive to deliver the reductions in poverty the country will need going forward and to ensure that nobody is left behind. In that context, Mr. Chairman, we want to work with you and your government as you seek to achieve a model for growth which is inclusive and resilient, which recognises that low educational standards are a binding constraint on development, and that investment in human capital through health, education and jobs is key. Mr. Chairman, it is clear that a big part of the answer lies with the private sector, since that is where the jobs will be made and that is where the tax revenues will be generated to invest in education and health. So we warmly welcome Her Excellency the President's consistent statements about the importance of the private sector. And we observe that firms and investors are already responding positively, with foreign direct investment to Tanzania rising by 35% to $922 million in 2021, according to the latest World Investment Report. Mr. Chairman, that trend is positive and to be welcomed, and yet, as we all know, it still reflects only a small part of the country's full potential for investment and full needs for investment. Furthermore, it's still the case that nearly all foreign direct investment in Tanzania comes from new investors. That's good in one sense, but it means that only a small percentage is flowing from investors already operating here. So it is worth asking what is discouraging these investors from expanding their existing investments. What is holding them back? I'm pleased to say that many development partners are now working with relevant parts of the government to establish a shared understanding of the answer to that question, including by holding bilateral trade and investment fora. But we think that the broad point is already reasonably clear. Despite very welcome recent improvements in the business environment and despite the very welcome existence of a blueprint for reform, Tanzania's business environment continues to be regarded as difficult and risky by many investors, local as well as foreign. Mr. Chairman, the development partners want to work with you and your government to reverse that perception. And we believe that it will need to be reversed if Tanzania is to be able to reduce poverty levels and create jobs at the level required to keep pace with population growth. So we hope in that context that today's dialogue can help to further highlight the indispensable contribution that a reformed business environment, bolstered by renewed efforts to strengthen human rights and rule of law, would make to Tanzania's development. Mr. Chairman, in addition to the work of the private sector, we also see an important role for civil society groups. In our experience, the sector expertise, the grassroots connections of non-governmental organisations can be invaluable in helping government develop and implement policies that more closely meet people's needs. We welcome, therefore, the efforts of the Registrar of NGOs and the Ministry of Community Development in creating a national sustainability strategy for NGOs. That strategy identifies a number of areas in which changes to the regulation of NGOs and the tax regime governing charitable giving could boost the very positive contribution the NGO sector makes to Tanzanian development. Mr. Chairman, another area where we believe progress can be unlocked for mutual benefit is ensuring all ODA funds are counted and taken into account when we engage in dialogue with you and your government about strategic priorities. Mr. Chairman, you mentioned the importance of aid transparency, and we fully and wholeheartedly agree with that. As development partners, we want to be fully transparent, fully accountable for everything we do in line with Paris principles, and we want to use that transparency to encourage better coordination and better allocation of resources and identification of gaps. So we look forward, Mr. Chairman, to discussing those issues further with you over lunch today, and in particular how we can work together to achieve mechanisms for recording both on and off budget spending and for enabling mutually beneficial partnership agreements to be achieved. Mr. Chairman, thank you in conclusion for this opportunity today. As already noted, we development partners and your government have been partners for many years. Be assured that our commitment and passion for working with you and your ministries for the betterment of your citizens is undimmed. We look forward to supporting you and your government as you develop a 2050 national development vision capable of propelling Tanzania to upper middle income status on what we hope will be a ceaselessly rising tide of inclusive and resilient growth. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, High Commissioner. I now invite Honorable Ambassador Mbaruk, Nasor Mbaruk, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and East Africa Cooperation, to provide official opening remarks. Karibu Mheshimiwa Waziri.
Kushukuru sana ndugu mshereheshaji. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, Head of Diplomatic Missions and International Organizations, Permanent Secretaries, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Nawasalimia kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Shukuru sana. Excellencies, it is my great pleasure to join you this morning in this high-level strategic dialogue event. This meeting is taking place in the midst of the ongoing global conflicts, slowly recovering from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and grappling with the threat of climate change, among so many other challenges. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today signifies long-standing cooperation and partnership between the governments and the peoples of the United Republic of Tanzania, developing partners, and the United Nations system organizations. Not only that, your presence is catalyzing the partnership and strengthening the commitment for successful implementation of the government's 5-year development plan. The plan takes into account global commitments such as United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and Addis Ababa Action Agenda for financing of development and climate agreements. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted that the theme for this dialogue today, Achieving Development Visions, Accelerating Resilience and Inclusive Development in Times of Uncertainties, reflects the current state of affairs. The challenges we are confronted with are indeed intertwined. To address them, we need to come together as partners at the national and global level and find solutions that are inclusive, transformative, and creative. The United Republic of Tanzania cannot take for granted the existing cordial relations that happily exist with their respective countries and organizations. I know strengthening relations between Tanzania and countries and organizations that you present. It is our assurance that you continue to be a strong bridge in this noble cause as you have been important partners and allies in regional and global political and economic arena, while tackling common issues and challenges affecting humanity, including development issues, effects of climate change, peace and security matters, and current effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this high-level dialogue serves as one of the structures for development cooperation among all of you present today as important contribution to Tanzania Development Vision 2025, as well as Zanzibar Development Vision 2050. The dialogue provides an opportunity for an open, inclusive, transparent, and exchange of views and ways of securing the government's ownership and mutual accountability. Connect to what I have just pointed out. We use this dialogue as a tool to strengthen both our bilateral and multilateral cooperation.
Dialogue will also help us to remain united and in multilateral settings. On behalf of the government and the people of the United Republic of Tanzania, we will stand ready to ensure that the recorded gains are sustained and more opportunities are tapped. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, during this high-level dialogue, we will have an opportunity to deliberate on key issues, namely microeconomy, where we will look on better ways to build on success, to promote an enabling business environment for investment and job creation, a rural economy, where we specifically look on how the role of climate, resilient, green agriculture and forestry conservation in achieving inclusive economic growth and food security. On energy transition, we will look on how we can build an environment for expanded access to sustainable and affordable energy for people and business. Lastly, we will discuss demography and related issues that are needed to empower women for economic growth and unlock the demographic dividend. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our great expectation that at the end of this session, we will come up with a solution that will significantly catalyze implementation of our development agenda. As we take note of a remarkable number of achievements recorded, ranging from solidifying our bilateral and multilateral relations and cooperation, we'd like to put on more emphasis that our partnership and collaboration should continue to ensure and respect existing international agreements and national structure that govern our business. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, allow me once again to thank you for your continued partnership as we continue working together. Be assured of our cooperation and that of the government of the United Republic of Tanzania in general. I thank you for your kind attention. Asante sana.
I thank you so much for your opening remarks. Now we are moving to our next session. That will be on macroeconomy. I kindly request the ushers to direct the presenters to the podium, while one of you please direct the ministers where they are supposed to come to sit. Ushers, please. Secretariat. Please, presenters from the private sector, development partners, please move forward. We have only 30 minutes for presentation, so you can be quick, please. Secretariat, kindly direct the presenters to the podium. Waziri wa Viwanda na Uwekezaji, tafadhali njoo kwenye podium. Mwakilishi wa private sector, popote ulipo, tafadhali tuangalie muda. Okay, karibuni sana. We are now going to start with the Minister of Finance and Planning, Dr. Mwigulu Nchemba. All presenters have like 5 minutes. Because this session is for discussion, we request the presenters to use only 5 minutes in order to allow other participants to make their comments. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Waziri.
Asante sana for this opportunity. The topic, building on success to promote an enabling business environment for investment and job creation. My main role is just to take you through on the recent economic development and outlook. On the main indicator, the GDP performance and the outlook, Tanzania has continued to gradually recover from the lingering negative effect of the COVID-19 as reflected by GDP growth, which is steadily improving, allowing at a slower pace. In 2021, growth barely improved to around 4.9% from 4.8%, which was recorded in 2020, owing the government efforts contain the spread of COVID-19 and implementation of the infrastructure projects, that is transport, education, health, water, and energy, and improved credit to the private sector, which stirred up the economic activities. And mainly, as you may recall, Tanzania did not implement the lockdown policy during the pandemic. The second growth in the first 3 quarters, that is January-September 2022, was 5.2% compared to 4.8% in the